fun begins.
How's it going?
Hello.
Well,
Greetings, young Jedi.
hello there.
Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here with another Topical Tuesday. I hope y'all are having a great Tuesday. I know I am. So, today is a little bit of a follow-up to last week's Topical Tuesday, which was comparing my thoughts on HasLabs and made-to-order products when it comes to our Hasbro Star Wars The Black Series. And my general consensus is HasLab stinky poo-poo. No, not quite, but I generally think that made to order actually has a lot more potential with the Black Series instead of doing the whole crowd-funded approach. I think the crowd-funded approach is getting a little bit tired. I noticed that people aren't as excited for the HasLabs anymore. It seems like a lot of people, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be as big a thing anymore. I think it's because we're constantly being inundated with them. And I think made to order just makes a lot more sense, just hey, we're just going to make the thing. How many do we need to make? Order it over the course of this month. And that generally works better for me. Kind of takes away the anxiety of is it going to fund, is it not going to fund. So, I can't just talk about made to order and not throw some ideas out there about what I'd like to see. I'm a YouTuber. We love putting our ideas out on the internet for no one to care about. So, this week I thought about it a bit and I came up with 5 made to order pitches, and we're just going to knock them out. We're going to do it nice and quick, and in the comments below I would like you just to say what one's your favorite, and if there's one that I didn't pitch, what you would like to see. So that said, let's get into it. Let's go. Alright, my big one, the one that, the bigger the more expensive it gets, you kind of got to start thinking it's a little bit less likely, but we're going to try, is a Rebel A-Wing. Now, personally, I have a preference for the Star Wars Rebels A-Wing. However, this could totally work in a Return of the Jedi instance too, so pick your poison. Rebels has a stylization because of the Ralph McQuarrie concept art vibe it has going on, so even though I'm using a picture of the Rebels toy one, I would be okay if it was a Return of the Jedi sculpt just with this deco applied to it, because that's what it would look like, interpreted into real life. But I would like to see a Rebels A-Wing and have it come with Rebel pilot Hera Syndulla. I think that would make for a very fun set, and I have some stats on it. So, in real life, the thing is 9.6 meters long, which translates to freedom units of 31 feet 6 inches, which when you divide that by 12 gives you 31 and a half inches, meaning this ship would have to be 31 and a half inches long, which is a little more than 2.5 feet. Now, for reference, the Black Series Snowspeeder was 19 inches long, so this thing would be a true foot longer. However, it wouldn't really be larger than any HasLab offering, but it would generally be flat, a little wide, but I think the A-Wing could be done in a made-to-order format, and if you wanted to go the Return of the Jedi route on this, throw in an A-Wing pilot instead of Hera. But I think it could be done in that $225 to $250 price range. However, I would pay more. Do what you gotta do, Hasbro. I think the A-Wing would be a fun one. This is the largest one I came up with, and I elected to kind of put it at the back because, obviously the smaller, the more likely. So let's get on to my next one. For my next one, still a generally large vehicle, but not as big as an A-Wing, is the Vulture Droid. I think this one actually would have a pretty solid chance of being made. Now, while I'm showing off the tan Phantom Menace deco one, my thoughts are they're not going to do a Clone Wars blue, but Blitz Transmissions did point out to me the other day blue Vulture Droids were in Revenge of the Sith. So in that case, pick your poison, Hasbro. What I would do is I would offer both of them at the same time and let people order what paint app works best for them, because what you would ultimately do is get me to buy 2, one of each. But I would like to see a Vulture Droid, and then I think all these need to have a figure pack in, so I would like to get a B1 Battle Droid Commander. Now, while some people might be like, it's a ship, why not a pilot droid? While LEGO and Micro Galaxy Squadron think you need to have a pilot in these, Vulture droids, as the name implies, are droids. They fly themselves. It's a false notion dating back to the Battlefront 2 era of 2005. They don't need a pilot, so I would rather it really function as an action figure that has like the wing transformation option. Now, again, some stats. In real life, this thing measures a 6.9 meters. In freedom units, that's roughly 23 feet long. Divide that by 12, gives you 22 and 3/4 inches long. Now, again, that snow speeder is 19 inches long, so this would be 3 3/4 of an inch longer. It really wouldn't be that much larger than a snow speeder. Now, the snow speeder in 2020 was $120. You run that through a quick inflation calculator, modern day it would be $150. So, given that it's slightly larger, I elected to say $175 to $200. I think that would be pretty fair for a Vulture Droid. And again, offer both decos, Hasbro. I'll buy two. So, really, really fun offering here. I genuinely think the Vulture Droid is like a doable thing. It would be really cool. On to my next one. This is the last one that's an independent type of vehicle, but I would like to see a Bark Speeder with a sidecar. Now, I know there's rumors of a Bark Speeder coming that would just be a singular Bark Speeder. I think it would have to be modified somewhat significantly to make the sidecar happen, to the point that even though it would look the same, it would potentially be a somewhat unique sculpt. So I would be okay with it being a made to order in that instance. And I could not find any just clean images of the Bark Speeder from season 4 of the Clone Wars that Anakin and Ahsoka were on, but I would want that one with the Rancor deco on the front of the sidecar. I think this would be a great way to get a season 3 Anakin out in the line. It's a nice kind of blend of your Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith appearances for him. I think it would be a very well desired figure. And then Ahsoka would be in her kind of like season 3 outfit, and she would have those goggles, which they put on the Hot Toys Ahsoka from the flashback in the Ahsoka series. Hence why I use that photo, but something in between, something that, would represent the scene well. Again, in real life, 4.83 meters long. Freedom units is 15 foot 10, right abouts. And then divide that by 12 gives you 15 and 3/4 of an inch long, a little over a foot long. Now, two figures, in my mind, is $50 of value because retail price $25 each. So, how much is a Bark Speeder with a sidecar worth to you? Again, remember, it's almost 16 inches long. I'd be okay with this being somewhere in that $100 and $120 price range. If it was something like $130, $140, again, I'd still buy it. This would just be a really fun additional option for something that we're pretty confident is coming. What's that? Did I say no more vehicles? Well, this isn't a full-blown vehicle, but I would love to see some sort of shelf display model of the Millennium Falcon cockpit. It would be a generally large item, and I couldn't really come up with exact dimensions because you can find dimensions of the Millennium Falcon, but just the cockpit, that's a little hard. I would guess it would be something 10, 11 inches wide, in that like circular, diameter. But I couldn't tell you the depth. But this would be a fun playset. Remember, it's a big enough cockpit that people can walk around each other in it, go out the door in the back. And the photo I used here is from Landspeeder Luke's Patreon. He has a 3D printable one, and that's really cool. But let's be fair, a mass-produced product will generally beat a 3D printed model. They can offer some features. I think if you're going to do something like this, you need to have some LEDs in the back, make those buttons light up like they do in the movies, would make it really pop on the shelf. And then as far as displaying goes, you could load it up with characters of choice. You could make it a sequel trilogy cockpit if you want. You could make it, an OT of any movie of choice. And as far as what figure to pack in, I thought 9 would be good. We have all these General Landos that are still somewhat peg warming from like 4 years ago. And people have been asking for 9 somewhat quietly because these OT kind of like side characters aren't the highest demand thing. So I think it would fit here because you could put them in with General Lando for that Return of the Jedi display. And it would get 9 out there. And you wouldn't have to worry about him being in a mainline wave and then sitting 8, 9 deep on pegs at Walmart until the end of time. It would be a good way to scratch 2 itches for people. This one's a little bit harder to price without, some like measurements, but just throwing it out there. Man, if it was good, if it had like LEDs in it, I'd be willing to pay $200. I think $150 to $200 is kind of that range. So I'd be interested to see what Hasbro's approach on such a thing would be, but I think it would make for an excellent like centerpiece to an original trilogy display. And for my fifth and final one, a Tantive hallway playset. And you might notice that I just used a picture of the Vintage Collection one. Well, it's because I basically want that. I've been saying it for ages. The Vintage Collection is always getting these little diorama playsets, the Navarro Bar, the Light Cruiser hallway, the Tantive 4 hallway, and I want something like this in Black Series scale. And as cool as this looks, I would be okay if Hasbro just took the digital assets for the Tantive 4 hallway and TVC and just doubled the size basically and made it 1/12 scale. I would be satisfied with that. It is somewhat modular. You could buy a couple of these and you could make a longer hallway. You could enclose it on both sides. There's a few options that you can do there. Some opening doors. I think it'd be really, really cool. And you got to pack in a figure. I think do right what TVC did and throw in a Rebel Trooper. But please, Hasbro, they're not clones. Get rid of that old gray-haired guy. Put a different face on it. And for the sake of army building, put a head on it with swappable faceplates like you've done on all these other Rebel Troopers. I'd be okay if from the neck down it was total reuse from that 2017 Rebel Trooper. It's not that bad a figure. But we need a new face for the guy. Come on, you've reissued him like 3 times now. For pricing, the Vintage Collection one was $50. I think it's double the size, $100, maybe $120. I'd pay more. That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I want some sort of like diorama hallway playset. Come on, Hasbro, let's do it. Anyways, that is my thoughts. These are 5 made-to-order things that I think Hasbro should consider doing when they try made-to-order for the Black Series, which I hope is not too far off. If HasLab is off the table, and it feels like it is, considering they haven't considered it for years, even though the Black Series is arguably the better-funded, better-selling Star Wars toy line, do made to order. Try something different. I want something cooler. I want more than just endless 6-inch figures. I love them. I'm happy with them. I just need some occasional throw in something a little bigger, a little deluxer, a little cooler, a little more shelf attracting. You know, I want something neat. Give me something neat. Come on. So, made to order. I think that could be a great future for the Black Series. I surely hope that these ideas make it to the right people, and that's kind of where I'm at. Thanks a bunch for watching. It means a lot that you did. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that end of video stuff. You know the drill. I'm going to go work on something else now. So until next time, may the Force be with each and every one of you, and I hope you all have a great day.